action.
Okay, we're making a baby hat, and the neat things you need for a baby hat is a roll of yarn, a pair of scissors, a hook, and the loom. This is a small round loom. Now if you don't use baby yarn, which is what I just showed you, then you're not making a baby hat, because baby yarn is softer. Now the first thing you'll do is take the roll of yarn, and then from that roll of yarn you'll actually make a little roll like this one so that it's doubled. And you do that by taking the roll of yarn, and then you take this part and you pull it out through your hand till it's clear out as far as you can reach. And then you come back and you do that. That's the second time, and you count 12 of those. Once you've got 12 of those, then you can go back and take and put the two ends together and go through the end till you get to the other end, which will be a loop. And then you start on the loop end so that these two tails are out on the end. Then you take the loom itself and you're ready to start with this already doubled. Now there's several, doesn't matter how you double them. I mean, you can even take two different rolls of yarn. If you want to take two different rolls of yarn, you can, but I just like to double it and have the loop on the far end. Then you look around the baby loop till you find this little peg that sticks out that's separate from the other pegs. That one is for your start. This is the tail, and you wrap it around, making sure that this is on the outside
Over the top.
and so that it's over the top. And then you can start your E-loop, and you go right around. Notice I don't have to hold that anymore. You go right around, and this is an E-loop. You go behind and then back around, and it kind of looks like a cursive E. That's why it's called the E-loop. And this is the basic stitch. There's lots of other stitches you can do, but this is the one that's probably the easiest and the one that you probably will want to start with. Now when I get there, I've got two loops. I've got this bottom one and I've got the top one. Sometimes you have to push this down to put this on, but if you start it right, then you don't have to. Now notice this. I'm going to do this exactly the same way that I did in the other one. I take the end that I just taken off of that loop and hold it in my left hand. Then I go around the little peg and I flip it over the top. Once I flipped it over the top, it's locked and I can hold it. Then I come back and I put this loop, the first one, over the one I just did, and this locks them together. And now you do the same thing, but you have to push all these down all the way around in order to get back to where you can put the second row on.
This makes room.
With this E-loop stitch. This makes room for that second one. And then you can just stick your hook under and pull this out and it'll come right off. You can tighten that if you need to. Then come back and you're going around with this same E-loop all the way around, over, around, and back across each peg to make the E. And then you'll be putting each of those the lower row, the first one you put on, over the top of the one you're putting on now. This ties them all together. And then you can come back and put this on again. Okay, now one thing that I like to do, whoops, I forgot one peg. Go back around this peg, and then I go down and put this on. Now we are to the point where we can start take care of this tail, and we incorporate it back in. We do this by going around a peg. Now I like to do this one row at a time. So once you've gone around that, then you can take both this one back across. So that will be 3 on this one now, 3 rows. And then this one, and that gives you 2 here together. So the next one on the bottom will go across that one. And then next time you go up, you'll put this across. If it has enough to go around, you do it around. If not, you can go across the front and still bring the loop over. But that'll be the next row. Now I go around, and each one of these I'm going to put over the top. That gives you the tying of the 2 together, because this loop going over that one you just did will make it so that it ties together, and that's the whole principle of what makes it work and makes it hold together.
This is row 2.
Yeah, this is row 2 going across the top of row 1. Once you've gone all the way around, then what do you do next? You go back and you push them all down. Push them all down all the way around. Sometimes it helps to push them down if you go right in front of the peg, right there as you push, or I guess behind, that's as you've gone around. And then you can pull this off again, and you can just go right around on the 3rd row. Now, we're going to do 16 of these rows, and then I'll come back and show you how we put the little brim together on the bottom of the hat so that it's double thickness. Thank you. Okay, we're ready now with the baby hat to take the bottom, the first row that we put on, up and over the top row so that it ties it together and gives it a double thickness. Now I like to take it right across from the peg and take that particular, or one pretty close to it. You put the hook through it, then you bring that hook along with the loop back up over, and on the peg that's opposite of that peg you started with. And then we're just going to put each one across. Now you have to kind of push this down and get the double thickness down there, and then you'll see that it kind of displays as it goes. And the bottom display is the one that you take up and put over the peg. And so the one that comes out when you push it all down is the one that you bring across and put on the peg. Make sure you get both of those rows, because you've got a double yarn that you put across each one. Bring it up and over. Make sure you get both of them. Sometimes you have to come down and push that back down to where the double thickness is so it displays properly. And you keep bringing that display up across and putting it on the peg. Is that the one? Looks like there's 2 rows there. So right there, that's the one that has to come across. Now if you happen to not come up with it right, you can always go back and you can see there's a row here that comes up, and right there's where the peg should be on each one of those. So you can always come back and find the one that you missed if you Happened to miss one. And so when you get through with this, then you bring that last row that you did of the E-loop back up over this loop from the bottom you put on, and that just ties it all together. Okay, now we're going to finish off the baby hat. Now I've gone to the end of, and I have that loop there. Now it doesn't turn out to be exact like that usually, but this is 7.5 rows after these initial 12. So you've got half of 12, which is 6, and 7.5 more. I'm going to go 2 more rows, but I'm going to do it single thread now instead of double thread to finish off that top.
Hey, you hold it up too high, honey.
Okay, and so I'm going to go around. Go ahead and stop.
Okay.
Okay, now as you can see, if you look on the inside here, I've done 2 rows of just a single thread instead of the 2. And then when I got around, I've gone 2 full times, so I'm down 1.5. After I've gone around this and looped it over, this time around, I'm going to actually go so I can pull it all together. And so I'm putting that under and bringing it up, threading it through. I'd cut this off now so I have enough room to go all the way around, but not looping it, just going around. And then I put it to the inside, and then I keep going around just like this, bringing it through, putting it to the inside, bringing it through, and putting it to the inside all the way around. When I get back around, then I'll have this one that's going on the inside, so I can take everything off and pull it together, and it'll all be tied together so I can bring it to a point at the top. Okay, turn it off. Okay, I've gone almost all the way around. If you look at it, you'll be able to see where there's 2 rows around right here, and then there's these 2 that don't have, and then it starts again. So I've got 1 more that I've got to go under, like I was doing before, and thread it out. Now I've got 2 of them all the way around, from right in here all the way around, and then this one doesn't. Now I can go through and put it through that other one, so I've got the double loop all the way around. That one is not absolutely necessary, but I like to do it anyway. It just really ties everything together. The next thing you do is just take everything off. And so I just go around and I take everything off. Now before you take it off, you just to make sure you've gone through all those loops, because you don't want anything left over that's not tied to that one that I went around with and put everything together.
Hi, pretty girl. Pretty girl.
Okay, I missed one. Okay, now I can take and I can actually just pull everything together just like that. See that? How that brings it all to a point? You'll have these little folds here that's nothing to worry about. It is a good idea to have it go to the inside and turn it wrong side out so your knot's on the inside. So I've brought that through, and then I turn it over, and now I'm actually doing the knot from inside, where I tie it together, where I've got that little tiny loop there. And then I'll take a needle, put through this, and I'll just put it through the same thread over and over again about 4 times to tie it together, and then that'll be a knot, and it'll tie it together, and that'll be your baby hat once you turn it back over again. Thank you.